Welcome to Lesson 8, and today we're going to find the slope using the two-point formula. The example says find the slope of a line passing through the points 4, 8 and 2, negative 3, negative 2. We did exactly the same thing yesterday, we just didn't talk about it being a formula. So this is the official slope formula. And when you're given 2 points, you're able to find the slope, particularly if it's not on a graph, if it's just two ordered pairs. And you may have noticed as you look at it, we did it yesterday, we just broke it in pieces. We found the change in our y values over the change in our x values. So we're basically finding the rate of change, but it's just using two pairs. I also want to address that when you're working with -2 minus 8, or when you have a minus here, you can just put it in the calculator if you wish, like -2 minus 8 would give you -10, or you could, if you prefer, you could do a keep, change, change, if it makes it easier to see that that's actually -10. So let's go ahead and begin, and just like yesterday, we are going to label our ordered pairs. This first x is x1, this first y is y1, so this is the first ordered pair. The second set, the x is x2 and the y is y2, so the first and second ordered pair. We also discussed that if you wanted to call the first order pair the 2's and the second order pair the 1's, so that you could put them in the order that you see them, that's perfectly fine too. So the slope formula looks like this: m for slope. So I'm going to write m for slope. And I need a y2, I start with a y2 number. So our y2 number in this case is 6. And then the formula says I subtract, and I subtract the y1 number, which is 2. And now I move on to the x's. The formula says I start with the x2 number, which is 5, and then I subtract the x1 number, which is -4. And again, if you put it in the calculator exactly how you see it, the calculator will give you the correct result. But if you'd rather do a keep, change, change, that's perfectly fine. So in order to find the slope, 6 minus 2 would be 4. 5 plus 4, or 5 minus a -4 would be the same thing as adding, would be 9. And we can't reduce that, so the slope is 4/9. So if you recall in yesterday's lesson, we said we could switch orders. I could, for instance, call this x2, but I have to call this y2. Once I label one of them 2 or 1, the other part of the ordered pair must have the same. So if I want to call this, since I called that 2, I have to call this x1 and y1. And the only reason some people prefer to do that is it makes it easier because you see the numbers in order. So m for slope equals, and we're going to start again with our y2, which would be -5, and then we're going to subtract our y1. Again, I'm only doing this because it stays in order, but you could go ahead and you don't have to call the first pair the 2's if it's more confusing to you. Now I'm going to go on to the x's. My x2 in this particular example is 5, and then I'm going to subtract my x1, which is 7. So -5 minus 3 is going to give me -8, and 5 minus 7 is going to give me a -2. And again, if we think about this being division, a -8 divided by -2 is going to leave us with a a +4. And I can either write that as 4/1 if I want to keep my change in y over my change in x, or I could write it as 4. Slope is 4. Just so you know, if I went back and I changed that to the original, so let me erase this for a minute. If I decided to write it in reverse, if I wrote 3 minus -5 and then used 7 minus 5, I would have gotten 8 over 2. And I still, when I reduced, would have gotten positive 4. So the order doesn't matter which one you call x1, y1, which one you call x2, y2, but the 1's have to stay together and the 2's have to stay together. I would, though, however, encourage you to label and then circle as you go so you know what numbers you're working with. So I'd like you to continue to complete the rest of the problems on this sheet. If you have any questions, please email me and I'll be happy to help. Take care.